Hello there, I'm Blackbright. I'm broadcasting out the UK. Welcome to my channel. First time you're passing through, you know the drill. Thumbs up if you like what I talk about, thumbs down if you don't. Share if you think someone else would be interested, and subscribe if you want to see more of me. And you can also interact with my subscribers. Today I wanted to talk about these 3 million Chinese nationals that they want to bring into the UK. Now, are they having a laugh or what? Are they trying to stoke the fire? Are they taking the pee? Seriously? I mean, sometimes I think that the government do this deliberately to create anxiety. Honestly. I mean, I get it that Hong Kong was a former British colony. But that was way back before, it was like, I think it was about 1972 or 1973. So what obligation does the UK have to them? They've got British national overseas passports, apparently, which gives them license to come over like any other foreign national and leave after 3 months. Now, what is wrong with that? Oh no. Britain has to go and stick his nose in and say, oh, we've got all of these people over there, and because China is breaching this agreement that they had to give them freedom of speech and autonomy, they need to be rescued. They need to be brought on over here. Now, most of them, because of the time frame, are going to be 33 years old and older. But where are they going, please? Have we got any jobs? Have we got enough housing? I mean, that's what really pees me off. Honestly, you're telling us that you've got no room for all these immigrants that you're meant to be deporting. You're saying that, oh, you've got to reduce net migration. And on the other hand, you're saying, oh, we're going to bring over nearly 3 million Chinese nationals because China are coming up with new security measures. So we've got to rescue them. They've got to come here. And not only that they come here, I mean, it's going to be like permanent asylum seekers because they come over here, they can stay for 5 years. On the 6th year, they can apply to be citizens. And they're talking about, oh, they're going to make some concessions for Chinese nationals who are students. But I don't get it. We don't even have freedom of speech here. Do we have autonomy? And when they bring out martial law and, you know, we have the second pandemic if we're gonna have one, and they bring out martial law, where is the freedom there? And then on top of not having freedom, you're talking about you're going to bring nearly 3 million Chinese nationals into the country. So, and then what peed me off more than anything else is that Hong Kong was a former British colony, but so were the Caribbean islands. And yet with the Caribbean islands, they're booting them out. How do they justify that? And the thing is that Hong Kong used to be a part of the British Empire. But so did Jamaica, so did Barbados, so did Trinidad, so did St. Vincent, so did Grenada. They were all they were all former British colonies. But when the Windrush, and they come in the form of the Windrush generation. But what are they doing? They're deporting them. They have the same legal right as those BNOs. When I say BNO, British National Overseas, they have the same rights, and yet they deported them, they detained them, they call them illegal immigrants. What is the difference? That's why I said it's a land of contradictions. You can't say on the one hand we can't have the Windrush generation in the country because they came over here and they're not supposed to be here because they don't have documents, when we don't know how many of the 3 million are going to have documents from goodness knows when. So is the same rule going to apply, or are they just going to be a free for all? Or are they going to go through the points-based system? Or are you going to have a load of layabouts? I mean, nobody's saying how this is working. If it's going to go through a points-based system, well, that's fine. You get the creme de la creme. But is the creme de la creme going to want to come to a country that's falling apart? The thing is, China has invested a lot in Britain. They have bought a hell of a lot of British businesses. And they've also got a nuclear plant in Hinkley Point. So they've invested big time in the UK. On top of that, they've reduced their. I think they've reduced their. I'm going to read it in a minute, but they've reduced their investments by I think 61%. So that we're not getting that much. We're getting about 3.9 million. That is the reduction. That's the reduced rate. But all I'm saying is that we got to be careful now. Retrospectively, Britain is saying, "Oh, I think we've given China too much autonomy. I don't think we better use Huawei for 5G because their principles are a bit different, and we're not quite sure about our national security. We're not quite sure what they're going to do with Huawei if we give them that autonomy. So we're going to have to put some things in place." What talk about closing the gate after the horses bolted? They're already a part of the UK. You've already allowed them. They're already here. And now you want to bring in 3 million more? I mean, you're there kicking out bloody Caribbeans who are harmless. All they came over here to do was to work. And you booted them out, half of them. And now you're going to bring over 3 million, almost 3 million Chinese, and these are powerful people. From the young to the old. You don't have to just worry about the leaders. Chinese have fantastic minds. And they're not going to work with Britain. If anything, they're going to work about taking over, like what they're doing with the rest of the world, investing all over the world. They're business people. But, like I said, can't bolt the gate after the horse is bolted, and that's what now they're all sitting. The Tory MPs all there thinking, "Oh, I don't know if we've done the right thing. I don't know if we should allow hostile countries so much autonomy in our country." Duh. Anyway, let's get back to the relationship UK's relationship with China, and why they feel obliged to accept 3 million Chinese nationals. It's not quite 3 million, it's almost, but that's a lot of people, considering you're talking about, Priti Patel, we've got to make sure we don't allow too much illegal immigrants into the country. They weren't bloody illegal. They harp on about this illegal immigrants all the time. And it's a load of tosh. It's designed just to profile people. Talking about illegal immigrants is designed just to agitate people, making it look like we've got a whole load of illegal immigrants. So what's the difference? You're going to bring over nearly 3 million so-called legal immigrants who can't work because some of them are going to be over 60 or whatever it is. I don't even know if they'll all want to come. But the thing is, if China is talking about this taking away their freedoms, they may well want to come. They may want to escape to the UK. So you may see an influx. And what are you going to do then? Is Nigel Farage going to do this big poster showing all these Chinese migrants coming to the UK, I wonder? All these millions? Is he going to do a poster depicting that? I bet he doesn't. Because they don't see China as a threat. They see black people as a threat. And other people of colour as a threat. But not Chinese. because Chinese come over as docile. They come over as calm, and they're very, very strategic. So I'm not even saying anything. I'm not even going to say a thing about that, because those people in power, they don't know what they're doing. They haven't got a clue. They just run around. Somebody says, oh, we've got to rescue all these people, and they jump on the bandwagon, depending who it is. It's selective. It's selective immigration, isn't it, really? It's not about immigration. It's not about net migration and reducing net migration. It's about selecting which immigrants you want in the country. That's what this is about. And you might as well say that instead of telling people, oh, just because you want the Brexit vote, we're going to reduce migration. We're going to reduce net migration by so much. And we're deporting this and we're deporting that, when most of those deportations are unlawful. And yet, on the other hand, you're saying, oh, we're going to bring over 3 million Chinese nationals. And the thing is that people are going to be confused. They're going to be like, why would you bring over 3 million, nearly 3 million Chinese nationals when you're trying to reduce immigration? What are you doing? And then it's all justified in, oh, we have this agreement. We made this agreement in goodness knows how many years ago. And the agreement was that they handed over Hong Kong to China. And over 50 years, they were supposed to allow them certain freedoms. But what China is doing is saying, look, these kids are going on too bad. We want to take away those freedoms. And that's what the protest's about. So in comes Britain on their white horse. And the thing is, that's going to cause problems, because the Chinese leader is saying those with BNOs, those with the overseas British national passports, it doesn't give them right for residency in the UK. So why is UK extending their hand? Okay, you want to help them out, but why are you extending their hand and giving them 5 years residential rights? Okay, it's supposed to start off with a year, I believe, but 5 years residency rights to live and work in the UK, and then in the 6th year they can apply for citizenship. Why go to that extent? You can't even look after yourself. You can't even look after who's here. Look at the state of the bloody country, and you're talking about you're going to bring 3 million Chinese in. I'm not saying there's anything against the Chinese. I'm just talking about the principle and why it's not fair and it's not right. You do it for one section. You can do it for Chinese overseas nationals, but you're not doing it for the Windrush generation when they fall into the same category. They all had British passports. The Caribbeans had British passports when they were part of the British colony, the same way as China did. So what is the difference? How come it's okay for one set of people to live and work here quite freely and not for another? I mean, they have to do it deliberately. They must know it's going to stir the pot. They must know that people are going to get peed off. And I think, that's what I said, I think it's deliberate. I think they want to cause discontent. They want us to get all upset. They want us to say, oh, it's not fair. They want us to say, oh, the Black Lives Matter. Oh, Black lives don't matter because you're not treating us the same. They want us to go on like that. And then they can say, oh, hark at them, this and that, blah, 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 and give us a hard time. They deliberately do things that are unfair and that disadvantage us. And like I said in previous videos, there's a reason behind it. Anyway, we've rattled on long enough. So what is UK's relationship with China? Why they feel obliged to accept 3 million Chinese nationals? British Hong Kong was a colony and a British independent territory of the United Kingdom from 1841 to 1997, apart from a brief period under Japanese occupation between 1941 and 1945. Great Britain had acquired Hong Kong Island from China in 1842 when the Treaty of Nanking was signed. and it was established as a crown colony in 1843. In 1917, China joined Britain as part of the Allies of World War One. Hong Kong currently exists as a special administrative region controlled by the People's Republic of China and enjoys relative autonomy as defined by basic law, but under China's new law, that is to change. Hence, that is why Britain is coming to the rescue. So you've got a bit of the background about why Britain is involved with China. So these Chinese nationals will be eligible to apply for citizenship after 6 years. They'll be able to work and live in the UK, and they can bring over their families. Why don't you? So it's not 3 million, is it? Probably 6 or 7 million. Goodness knows how many if they're bringing over their families. But they cannot transfer that status to their children. But can you imagine what that looks like? You're saying nearly 3 million can come over here with their families. How many is that? You might as well double it, mightn't you? In the at least double it. But it could well be treble. Anyway, Britain claims they're accepting the 3 million Chinese because of China's new national security law, where new crimes come with severe penalties. Honestly, why is Britain sticking their nose in? I'd understand if it was affecting Britons in China. And maybe I'm not looking at this the right way. But, you know, we have people, I mean, they're talking about asylum seekers who are here anyway, and they're deporting them. So in essence, if you brought these Chinese nationals over, the ones, the British Chinese British nationals overseas to the UK, because of fear of persecution in quotes, it's persecution in the sense that they're taking away those rights. What is the difference between those Chinese nationals and the asylum seekers that you're deporting? Now, what they're saying is they're deporting them because they're not proper asylum seekers. I'm not quite sure what a proper asylum seeker is. I thought an asylum seeker was someone who was seeking refuge in the country because they were undergoing persecution in their originating country. And then what Britain will probably say is, oh, well, you can go back because I can't see what danger you're going to be in. So they send them back to these countries where they're being more persecuted than in China. And yet, with the Chinese nationals, they're saying, oh, yeah, you can come over here. We'll welcome you with open arms. Contradictions. So, on the one hand, UK's Home Secretary Priti Patel is saying she is strengthening UK immigration laws and control and removing migrants whose action is not believed to favour the public good. And on the other hand, she is allowing 350,000 UK passport holders and 2.6 million others to become eligible or will be able to come to the UK for 5 years. And after a further year, will be able to apply for citizenship. And I just think they're stoking the fire. They just want people to get their knickers in a twist and get all peed off and say, oh, what's Britain doing? Oh, let's have a riot. Let's have a riot. Britain is bringing all these people over. What we're going to do? We ain't got no jobs. We ain't got no houses. And Britain's bringing, and the government is bringing all these people over. And everybody starts panicking. You know that advert? Compare the market. Keep calm. They're deliberately trying to wind us up. Honestly. They have to be deliberately winding us up. They're wind-up merchants. So, I don't know where they will live. I don't know where they will work. Many will be over 50. The youngest will be 33 years old. Will that be a drain on resources? I guess not. They must have plans. Maybe it's because they believe that because the Chinese nationals are renowned for being gifted in technology and AI, maybe they think they can use them better. Because you've got to give them that. High tech is their forte, the majority. So maybe they think they can revolutionize the UK. Maybe they think they'll build UK up. Maybe they think they've got, they're financially able. I don't know if they're going to have a financial criteria in order to come into the country. And I don't know if that point system, like I said, is going to exist. But I wonder if they're going to have a threshold that they need to meet. That'd be interesting to know. So Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Bahamas, Grenada, Dominica, St. Lucia and St. Vincent were all former colonies, British colonies. And they don't get those benefits. Instead, they're called illegal immigrants and are being deported or detained. As British nationals overseas passport holders, they were granted special status, this is the Chinese, in Hong Kong, in the 1980s, but currently have restricted rights and are only entitled to visa-free access to the UK for 6 months. But that's just like any other foreign national. Why should it be any different? Why is it a problem that they only in the country visa-free access for 6 months? I didn't even know they got visa-free access for 6 months. But that's quite generous, I would have thought. Hong Kong was handed back to China on a number of conditions, including a high level of autonomy and freedom of speech. Now that's ironic, we can't. They vet everything we say, don't they? The British colony was handed back to China in 1997, and anyone born in 1997 and older and before will be eligible to apply for a British National Overseas Passport, known as BNO. These people can get a path to citizenship in the UK. The BNO passport is currently a travel document that does not carry citizen rights with it, but they are entitled to consular rights. Chinese leader is angry because he says BNO should have no residency rights in the UK. China says UK is in breach. It is a violation of the handover agreement that stipulates BNO passport holders do not enjoy UK residency. And why should they? If the Windrush generation don't enjoy residency rights, why should the BNOs? I totally agree. The claim is that over 300,000 have such a passport but cannot pass this status on to their children. And I don't know if that's, like an exaggeration. You know how the media is. I don't know if 300,000 is an exaggeration. I don't even know if the 2.6 million is an exaggeration, because remember when they was talking about the EU nationals and them coming over and them being entitled to work in the UK, and they were talking about all these millions. I mean, I don't know how many we ended up having or how many were eligible, but it's a similar thing. That's why I said, I'm sure it's a load of hype. I mean, even if they offer it to them, I wonder how many will take it up. So that's what I'm saying. There's no point getting your knickers in a twist. It might not even happen. UK has a deep trade relationship with Hong Kong, which could be why they have a sense of loyalty. Chinese investment in the UK dropped by 76%. I thought it was 63%. 76%, according to www.cityam.com. And that was in 2019. So it dropped by 76% to 3.84 million. That's a hell of a lot. So that means they was more or less investing about 10 million before. So China has already taken over British Steel in the UK, Black Cabs in the UK, Aston Villa Football Club, Hamleys on the High Street, Harvey Nichols. 13,000 companies in the UK are part of China-owned corporate group or are a majority led by a Chinese national. And China's general nuclear plant, like I mentioned, is in Hinkley Point. Also, Apple, the iPhone, that can't work without China. So, I think the UK has underestimated China's power, like everybody else has around the world. China comes in with the dollars, comes in with the money, And they are, like I said, they're business people. They trade, they barter. We'll do this for you and we'll loan you the money. And a lot of those countries, especially the places like Africa and the Caribbean and Asia, where money, where they're in debt or whatever, they go and trade. They're not doing anything wrong. They are not doing anything wrong. It's almost like they're paying for a service, or we're paying for it. Whichever country they go in. The country's paying for a service and they deliver. It's not like they take money and they don't deliver. They deliver what they say they're going to deliver. Now, if you're myopic enough not to be strategic enough to see what the long-term benefits are for China, that's not their fault. That's your fault for thinking short-term and thinking, oh yeah, I've got all this money and we can do this and we can do that and they're going to do all the work. That's not their fault that you're myopic. China is very strategic. They ain't silly. And that's why they've got states all over the world. And it's no point suddenly realising, oh my God, they've got all these stakes in our country. Oh, we better stop. It's too late, love. It's too late. So, on the one hand, they are toughening up over takeover laws to prevent China taking major stakes in strategic UK businesses. And on the other hand, they open up their doors to 3 million British overseas nationals. Apparently, there could be front companies that are intervening on behalf of China. You can't get those Chinese people out, mate. If they're not coming up front, they've got people who's going to work on their behalf. So, making Pande. They're frightened of the wrong people. That's their problem. They're too busy being frightened of, the little black people who are hovering around and minding their own business and working and doing whatever. Too preoccupied with them. And where the real threat is, they're not looking. Their eyes are closed. That's what I mean. When they say you can't, it's not you can't see the forest for the trees. But I can't remember what saying would fit this. That where your focus is misdirected, and everything's going on around you, and you're so myopic. You're focused on one element. I'm not gonna. Hatred is too hard a word, but they are so hell bent on controlling African Americans, black people, or whatever. The bigger threat, or what they're supposed to be concerned about, is coming in slowly. Okay, so make them go on. Anyway, what have we got here? UK is looking at whether Huawei should provide 5G and whether it could be a threat to national security. Now they're talking about, I wonder if we should have Huawei to do our 5G. Duh. Should they have Huawei to do their 5G? What are you looking for? Are you looking for quality? Are you looking for the best deal? Or are you now worried that Huawei may in some way have such super artificial intelligence and control, you're now having second thoughts? Tory backbenchers are looking to toughen pre-existing plans to add a stronger national security element to UK takeover laws. Might be a little bit too late. They admit having failed to take a strategic view on Britain's long-term economic, technical and security needs. Can you imagine? They actually admit to failing to take a strategic view of Britain's long-term economic, technical and security needs. So they've just been saying, yeah, they've gotten all this money. Oh yeah, we'll sell you that. How much did you say? 10 million? Oh, that's okay. That's a good deal. Yeah, we get 10 million for that. That'll go in our little pot. Oh, how much did you say? Oh yeah, we'll sign that. Myopic, getting all this money in and not realising and not thinking strategically what they're doing. And now all of a sudden it's kind of hit them. Bloody hell. We did that, we did that, we did that. China might have a 25% stake in the UK. They might have a 30% stake. They might have a 40% stake. We don't know how much stake they've got, but they might have a high percentage stake. We don't know. But what can you do about it? You can't do nothing about it. You've signed your paper. You've sold it off everything. I'm not saying you've just sold it off to the Chinese. Of course not. You've sold it off all over the world. But the thing is that you're leaving yourself very vulnerable when all of your British assets have been sold off. And what are you left with? A country with no jobs. And coronavirus. No wonder they want to bloody do what it is they want to do with it. Press a reset button or whatever they say they want to do. Okay, so Five Eyes Intelligence Oversight and Review Council should set the standard on national security and technology. However, they are apparently paralysed because of the influence of countries like China who pursue a different set of ideologies. So, China is not pulling the, what do I mean? They're not, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They're not towing the line. But did they ever? Do they have to? Does China have to toe the line when they're so powerful? I'm not sure why Britain is sticking her nose in when Hong Kong is no longer a part of the British Empire, just like many Caribbean countries are not. And that's all. I've got to stop because the phone is going and it's going to make a lot of noise. Bye!